Hi everyone, John Osmond here with ProDB Developers. I want to make another video kind of demonstrating some of my skills, some of the things I can do for your business. Today we're going to talk about nested navigation forms. As many of you know, in Access you can make a navigation form. There's a tool for it and it takes you through, and you can either make them with horizontal buttons or vertical buttons. And as you click on the different buttons, it brings up a pre-designed form in a subform. What a lot of people don't know is that you can actually nest those. So let me give you a demonstration of that. So I have a database here that has no data in it. It's just for the purposes of demonstrating the navigation forms. So as you can see across the top, I have horizontal buttons, and that represents the outer navigation buttons. And in each one of those sections, I have another navigation form with vertical buttons. And then in this big square here is where the form opens up. Now, it just has one label on it, says branches, but if you can imagine, there'd be a lot of data here. It could either be an index form, which means a list of records within a certain area, or it can be a data form itself, which means, label text box, stuff like that. But the point is that as you select these other buttons over here, it brings up different forms in the subform. And as you click on these buttons here, it takes you to entirely different domains of your business, I guess you could say. Now, one of the things about doing it this way is that if you do it this way right out of the box, it contains no memory of what form you were on last in which of the horizontal buttons. In other words, if I clicked over here to operations, see it's on work orders, the first one. If I hadn't done what I'm about to show you, no matter which button I select, if I go to another horizontal button and come back to operations, it wouldn't have remembered. It would always come back to that first button. But I went ahead and coded in some stuff, whereas when you click on a button, it stashes away information about the button you just clicked on. So now if I click on another tab and then come back to it, see it has memory. So I programmed in some memory. Here, I'll do another example here. In inventory, I'm going to click on stock line tracking. So I'm definitely on the stock line tracking form. And let's say I go to the accounting tab for a while and do something. When I come back to inventory, it remembers that I was on stock line tracking. It remembers right where I was. So that's an important feature that has to be coded in with VBA. Again, that's a skill I have. I can do that. Now, this is a nice layout, and I definitely like it, but there are a couple of limitations. One limitation is that the ribbon I have a hard time making custom buttons for the ribbon. I always like to make a custom ribbon for the applications I make because the default Access ribbon is just too busy. There's a lot of tools. It gives the user far too much control over the environment, and really all you need is some data buttons. So you might have seen in another video that I have this starter DB file. And this is how I typically make a database. In fact, the starter DB is like my template. When I start a new project, I basically make a copy of that and then go in and put in the forms that I need. You can just copy and paste a lot of stuff, save a lot of time, which saves my customers a lot of money. But the idea here is that you have a dashboard that just basically has some buttons. Now, this can have its own tab, so you can organize your buttons. But once you click on a button, whatever you're opening up opens up in its own tab. And see, it has a custom ribbon. And this ribbon is aware of what the active form is. Let me give you an example of that. If I open up the People's Index form, and let's say I go here to this Unlock Records button. I click on this. Now, this is now an unlocked form, and I can edit the records within that form now, whereas I couldn't a moment ago. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and press the Escape key on my keyboard. Did not save that. But the point is that if I go to the Company's Index form, notice how it's not unlocked. It's still locked. So you keep an eye on that button as I go back and forth between these two forms. And that's made possible by the fact that the ribbon is aware of what the active form is. And then it says, oh, well, that form's locked. Let me make the button look like this. Here's another example. If I go to the Company's Index, you see I got a commands menu. And inside that I have a command that I programmed to export this data to Excel. I'm not going to run that now, but the point is that the button's there and it's enabled. If I go to the People's Index, the People Index, the button is disabled because I didn't bother writing any commands for this particular form. Another example is the reports. I wrote one report for the People Index, and I wrote two for the Company's Index. So again, this little drop-down list is aware of what form is active, and it sets itself up appropriately. If you go back to something like this, there's only one form. It's the dashboard itself. And so I can't really say, well, what's the active form? Because it's really an active subform. It's whatever button you've selected and whatever subform's loaded. So that would take a lot more coding to dig down, drill down in, and figure that out in order to make those buttons work properly. Now, I guess one way that I could program around it is I could make a custom ribbon for every form in the database, but that would be a lot of work. I mean, even here in this fairly small database, I have 3 forms here. Now we're up to 6. Now we're up to 10, 14, and then let's see, there's 6 there. So we're up to 20 forms, and it's not even that big of a database, so I'd have to make 20 ribbons. And I guess I could copy and paste and start with a blank ribbon and then add in the custom buttons from there. But still, that would be a lot more work than what I'm doing over here, which is there's only one ribbon, and I just write a little code that says, tell me what the active form is, and then change some things appropriately. So that's one drawback to this nested navigation form layout. As good as it looks and as nice as it is for like an admin panel, it does have that limitation. There's another limitation, and this one's really critical for really large projects. Again, in one of my other videos that you can find on YouTube, or trying to put them on TikTok as well, and maybe Instagram. When I design a database that's really large, I follow this layout here. I have user interfaces at the top, and these user interfaces reference files where I have data forms and reports and some support files, and then all of those files reference the access, the data access area. And that, the data itself is stored in these databases down here, and this code here helps me go get that data and put it up in a form, or get that data and run some business logic or something like that. And as far as my file system goes, this is how I accomplish that. See, I have these folders here numbered, and all these folders from 1 down to 7, they all have different access files in them, and those access files reference each other in accordance with this. Well, all that goes out the window if you do this nested navigation form layout. So as good looking as it is, it really would only be appropriate if I could keep all of this information, everything below the user interface. I mean, I could still have this separated off, but everything from here down to here would all have to be in one file. You really can't reference other files from within this, at least not for opening the data forms. Because again, you have these navigation buttons, and Microsoft created these, and all you do is add the buttons to it and tell it what form should pop up in the subform, and that form has to be in the same database file as the navigation form itself. So that's a limitation. Okay, that about wraps it up for this video. Again, these videos, I'm making them mainly to demonstrate the kind of skills I have. I've been working with Access and SQL Server for over 24 years. In fact, Access itself, I've been working with it for about 30 years. All the Microsoft Office products, which are now called Microsoft 365, by the way. I've been working with them for 30 years. That includes Word and Excel. I have networking experience. I have experience with point of sale systems. I have web design and web app development experience. I know a product called Laravel, which, again, you can find in some of my other videos. I make web apps. I'm learning how to make mobile apps, apps for the phone. And by the way, all the web apps I make, they're all mobile friendly, so you can use them on the phone. It's just that a web app doesn't have access to things like the GPS or the camera and stuff like that. But I'm learning those as well. So anyway, I'm available for hire. I can be hired on contract. Go to my website, prodbdevelopers.com. My phone number is there. And also there's a contact form. You can send me an email. I'm also available for hire, a W-2 type of a situation, part-time, full-time if you're in Bradenton, if your business is in Bradenton. But it has to be remote if you're anywhere outside of Bradenton. And anyway, give me a call, give me a shout, and let's talk about what I can do for your business. Thanks.